Hello and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to complete the Whimsical Waves poncho. That's a free pattern on my website that you can find at www.nanascraftyhome.com. It utilizes 5 balls of the Feels Like Butter yarn by Lion Brand. This is a fantastic yarn, absolutely one of the softest yarns I have ever worked with. And it's kind of, I would say, chenille-like. You could use another worsted weight, but honestly, this yarn is just beautiful. So let's go ahead and get started. I also have my clover hook in a size G, or a 4.0 millimeter hook. And the poncho is actually worked in two pieces. You make a triangle, and then the side panels are added directly onto that triangle front piece and the triangle back piece. And then those two pieces are then sewn together to create the poncho shape. But we're going to go ahead and get started on the front panel. It's basically a triangle fillet mesh, so a very easy repetitive pattern. Let's go ahead and get started. So to start this, we're going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to do 2 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. The furthest chain from the hook. We'll do 2 double crochets. Then we're going to go ahead and turn. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to count as my first double crochet plus a chain 2. I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 2 and double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from my previous round. So so for row 3, we're going to go ahead and turn our work, and then to start, we're going to go ahead and do a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double crochet in the next chain 2 space, which is this chain 2 here. Chain 2. Double crochet in the next chain 2 space. Chain 2. Double crochet in the top of the chain 3. So this was a chain 5 here. So the chain 3 counts as my first double crochet, and then there's 2 leftover chains. I've double crocheted in that space for the 2 chains. I'm going to do a double crochet at the top of that chain 3 here. So row 3 is a chain 5 here, double crochet in that first chain 2, chain 2, double crochet in that next chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet in the top of that chain 3. So row 4, we're going to go ahead and chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, double crochet in the chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet in the next chain 2 space, and I'm going to double crochet in each chain 2 space to the end, chain 2, double crochet in the next chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet in the top of that chain 3. So we'll count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3, leaving 2 chains left. And this is going to be our repeating row. We're going to be repeating this row until we reach the desired size or the number of rows specified in the pattern. So for our repeating rows, we're going to do a chain 5, double crochet in the chain 2 here, double crochet in the next chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet in the next chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet in the top of the chain 3. One more time so you can see it again, but remember, we are just duplicating that. It's just continuing to get bigger. We're making a triangle. We're adding double crochets every row. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double crochet in that first chain 2, chain 2, double crochet in the next chain 2, chain 2, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 2, double crochet in the next space, chain 2, and then double crochet in the top of that chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. So there you have it. You continue growing each of your rows. So here we have 3, 4, 5, and 6. So every row will increase by 1 double crochet. So it makes this gradual triangle pattern. So really lovely. And you will just, if you are making it to the size specified in my pattern, which would fit most adult sizes, probably small to large, but of course you can certainly alter the sizes, and I will tell you about that later on. But to make it to the size specified in the pattern, you will repeat that last row all the way through row 45, and you will not fasten off at the end. And then I will come back and show you how to start adding on your side panels. Alright, so after you've completed the front triangle panel, you will not fasten off. And if you are making the pattern to the size specified in my pattern, you will go to finish row 45. You will not fasten that off. You will leave your yarn. And what you're going to do is you're going to work down that long edge of that triangle. So you're not going to turn here as we would have if we would have continued on with the length of that. You will just turn your work this way, and you are going to work down the side of the panel. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and chain 1 to start out, and we're just going to begin by single crocheting evenly inside each of those chains that we have along the edge, or the ending double crochets that we have along the edge, just evenly so it doesn't bunch up. It looks nice and even when we're finished, and we end up with a total stitch count of, for my length, I ended up with a total of 116. You're going to need an ending stitch count that, because we're doing the crochet wave stitch, you are going to need an ending stitch count of anything that will be divisible by 6. So multiples of 6 plus 2 is what you will end up with, and that will allow you to do the stitch repetition as required in my pattern, just adapting it for the number that you have. So we're just gonna work evenly along the edge here, and let's take a look. So you can see here that that looks nice and even. I've worked the stitches into those chains or double crochets at the end, not around them, so it gives it a little bit more of a finished appearance than it would if I were to crochet over those double crochets or chains at the end or beginning. It's not bunching up, it's not all tight because I've placed them too far apart or not far enough apart. And so I will do this and continue along till I get close to the end, and then I will count to see where I'm at and see where I need to end up and adjust accordingly to get the right number of stitches. Alright, so after you have finished single crocheting and counting your stitches to make sure that you have a number in multiples of 6 plus 2, I have 116 along the side here as I have in my pattern. You are going to then turn your work, chain 1, and you will single crochet in each stitch to the end of the row. So you will again have 116 stitches for that third row, which is where we will begin that wave stitch, which will be the bulk of this side. Alright, so after we've completed that row of single crochets, row 2, we're going to turn our work, and this is where we're going to start the repeating pattern for the wave stitch. And this is going to be the first row of that. If you would like more details about how to complete the wave stitch, I will have a YouTube tutorial detailing that and giving you more instructions if you would like to adapt that stitch for other patterns as well, but this is going to strictly be how to complete that for this poncho. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and essentially this row is double crochet decreases over the specified number of stitches. And the first part is going to be a 2 double crochet decrease over the next 3 stitches. So what those are incomplete double crochets worked into the next 3 stitches, and you're decreasing your stitch count by 2. So hence 2 double crochet decrease. You're working over 3 stitches, but you're going to end up with only 1 stitch at the end because you're going to pull through the loops of all the loops on your incomplete double crochets. And I'm going to show you how that works. So we're going to start as we would for a normal double crochet. We're going to work into our next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. I have the 3 loops on the hook just as I would for a regular double crochet, yarn over and pull through 2. But instead of yarning over and completing that double crochet, we're going to leave those 2 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over, and I'm going to work another incomplete double crochet in the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to leave those there, do another incomplete or another double crochet decrease here in that next stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I now have 4 loops on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. So we've just decreased by 2 double crochets. So then we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we're going to do a 5 double crochet decrease over the next 6 double stitches. So we're going to yarn over as we normally would, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leaving 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, that leaves 3, yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You can see here I've done double crochet decreases over 3 stitches, and I'm going to do that over 6, so I have 3 more to go. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I've got 5 loops on my hook, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So you can see here I've done that over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on my hook. So I've decreased my stitch count by 5. So yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. We will then again chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to repeat that same 5 double crochet decrease all down the row to the last 4 stitches. So we will just do that same yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, another incomplete. There's 3 incompletes, 4, 5, and 6. I have 3, 6, 7 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all loops on your hook. And you can see my pattern is starting to take shape here. Very pretty. It's like an upside down shell stitch. So I'm going to chain 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And again, I'm going to do a 5 double crochet decrease over the next 6 stitches. So 1 incomplete, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over, pull through all the loops. Chain 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And repeat that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on my hook. Pull through and just continue on down the row till we get to the last 4 stitches. Okay, so I've reached my last 4 stitches of this row, and what I'm going to do is chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm going to do a 2 double crochet decrease over the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to yarn over and complete that, and then in my last stitch I'm going to do a double crochet. Alright, so we've completed that row, and let's take a look here. And that is just so pretty. So let's go ahead and do our next row for that repetition. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn. And now this row is going to be worked in these chains that we did. So to start out this row, you're going to go ahead and do a chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And you're going to work 6 double crochets in the 4th chain of the row below. So you're going to count over 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is the chain you're going to want to work those 6 double crochets in. I think it has a better appearance if you work in that bottom loop of the chain, and you're going to do 6 double crochets in that same chain. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're going to then skip over that double crochet decrease, and you're going to work another 6 double crochets in the next 4th chain from the row below. So again, count over your chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to work in that back loop of that chain all 6 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm just going to repeat that all the way down this row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we've done a couple here, so let's take a look at how that looks. So that just gave it a totally different appearance, didn't it? How pretty is that? So continue on all the way down, working in each one of these chain 7s that you have in between your double crochet cluster decreases here. You'll work in each one of the 4th chains all the way down. Alright, so I have repeated that down that row. I have done my 6 double crochets in that last middle chain of that chain 7 there. So I'm going to just, for my last stitch, to do a double crochet in the top of that chain 3 from the previous row. And then I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to do a chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do my double crochet decreases, working over these shells that I did from that previous row. So I'm going to start with a 2 double crochet decrease over the next 3 stitches from the previous row. So again, here's 1, 2, and 3, and then yarn over all through all of those loops. Then I'm going to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to do a 5 double crochet decrease over the next 6 stitches. And so that's going to be the next 3 stitches over the last 3 of that 6 double crochet shell cluster there that we did from that previous row, and then the first 3 of the next one. So there's 1, there's 2, 3, and then over the next 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then yarn over and pull through all those loops. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So essentially what I just did is we have these spaces in between those 6 double crochet clusters, those shells, and I filled in that space with another upside down shell. So we filled that space in between those 2 clusters. And I'm going to repeat that all the way down with a chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then I'm going to do another 5 double crochet decrease into the last 3 of the previous and the next 3 of the previous row for a total of 6 stitches that I'm working that over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, yarn over, pull through all those loops. Chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then another 5 double crochet decrease over the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, pull through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over, pull through all those loops. So let's take a look at that. So that is starting to take shape. I love the look of these open spaces here with those chains that we did and then the shells in between. They really do look like waves. Just a really pretty lacy open look, but still with some fullness here. You know, not so lacy that it can't hold a shape, which is nice. A lot of times with those lacy ones, they're hard to keep a shape because there's so much open space, but I think this one holds its shape really well because it fills in nicely. All right, so continue on down that row. All right, so I've reached the last 4 stitches of my row. I'm going to go ahead and do a chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to do a 2 double crochet decrease over the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through all those loops. Then I'm going to do a double crochet in the last stitch, which is basically the top of that chain 3. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at how that looks here. So look how pretty that is. And essentially what you're going to do now to continue on in this pattern, making the side of this poncho, you are just going to be repeating these last 2 rows until you get to the size desired, the length desired. So of course, the next row would be working in these chain 7s, doing your 6 double crochets in the middle of each chain, and then again doing the same thing as we just did in this last row. So just continue on in that pattern. Those 2 rows will get repeated until you have the length desired. And then we will come back and we will sew our poncho together. Alright, so I have completed that side panel to the size specified in the pattern. I did a complete total of 27 rows from that first single crochet row all the way through the end. But you could certainly customize this, making this poncho larger or smaller by adding or subtracting the set of 2 repetitions by that grouping. So you could subtract 2 or add 2 on the end, or up to however many multiples of 2 you would need. But for my pattern, if you're doing it as written, would get you 27 rows on each triangle set. So I've done both here. So once we've completed that second one, what we're going to do is we're going to find the right side of the triangle, and from that right side, so this would be my right side, I'm going to attach, and I'm going to do 2 rows of single crochet because I want the other side of the triangle to match the join of the other side. So what you're going to do is on this one, the right side takes me to the top of the triangle, and I'm going to attach here. With a single crochet, and I'm going to do the same number of single crochets that I used for the first row of the other side. So on this one I did a total of 116, so I'm going to do another 116 for this first row all the way down, just repeating what we did for the other side of the triangle to begin our wave stitch pattern. So just continue single crocheting inside of those double crochets at the end, or the chains at the end of each row. Evenly spaced. You don't want them to bunch up or to be bunching your fabric up at all. You want those nice and evenly spaced. And let me bring this down so that you can see that a little better. So you can see here that these are evenly spaced, and I'm going to continue doing that all throughout this row all the way down to the bottom. Once you have crocheted evenly that first row all the way down that long edge of the other side of the triangle, you're going to get to the end, and we're going to do another row just like we did on the other side. So turn your work. And I'm going to chain one, and then I'm just going to single crochet in every stitch to the end of this row. Once I get to the end of this row, I'm going to fasten off, and I'm going to repeat the same thing, those 2 rows of single crochet, onto my other panel. So on your second panel, you're going to do the same thing. Find the other unused long edge of your triangle and find the right side, and you'll do 2 rows of single crochet along that edge and fasten off. And once we've done that, I will come back and show you how to sew these 2 panels together. If the ends are kind of a distraction for you when you're sewing, sometimes I like to go ahead and just weave in all of the ends before I sew things together, because sometimes they can just get in the way of what I'm trying to do. So I would recommend that you go ahead and weave in ends after this step as well. But I'm going to go ahead and continue crocheting the second row of single crochets, and I'm going to repeat that on the other panel, and then when I come back I will show you how to attach the panels together and sew them. Alright, so I have completed 2 rows of the single crochet on both of the triangles, on the unworked sides of the long edge of the triangles. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and sew the panels together. So to do that, you're going to have the right sides facing each other with wrong sides out. You're going to line up the triangles. You can see here I have the other triangle. They're facing each other. And what's going to happen is these edges are going to fold in and match up with the edges of the triangle. And then you're going to use stitch markers to put those and hold those into place. And we're only going to sew one edge at a time. So I'm only going to put stitch markers on the one edge so that I can sew it together easily. So by having those triangles together, with the wrong sides facing out, the right sides facing each other. Just put those together, fold in one of those side panels, and then put a stitch marker right here at the top. So we will just attach that together here. And then I would go ahead and place a stitch marker at the bottom to match up the tops and the bottom. So we'll just match that up together. And then probably place a couple in the middle parts here. We're just trying to hold the piece together so it's easier for us to sew. All right, so we have that attached. Now we're going to go ahead and sew that together. And what I'll do is I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to measure approximately doubled up along that side so I have enough yarn to sew it all together. Get my tapestry needle. And we're just going to sew these together. I'm going to start at the bottom edge, making sure that we keep those aligned. And I'm going to do a mattress seam. To join. Come in a little closer here so you can see what I'm doing. And just make sure and pick up both sides. And just evenly sew all the way down this edge. And I left a tail to weave in. So as I am sewing this up and progressing down my row, I'm going to show you what that looks like when I open it up. So you can see here the bottom edge is very even with each other. This is the seam, which is pretty invisible, isn't it? And what I'm doing is, this was the chain 7 from that last row of the wave stitch part of the side panel, I'm picking up the same loops that I would have picked up with my crochet hook if I were crocheting into those chains. And then I'm going through the top 2 loops of the single crochet row of the other side. So what you end up with is this very nice flat invisible seam that you're not able to see really where it's at. So as you're sewing and going on, you're coming up from below. Let's see where I'm at. Picking up, so coming down from below and then picking up those top 2 loops of that single crochet row, and then the chain, you are picking up the same loops as if you were working in that chain. Side to side, back and forth. All right, so continue on, and I will be back shortly to do the other side as well. I have gone ahead and finished sewing that seam all along that edge. I left the last stitch marker so that I could remember which side was the wrong side, because as you can see here, this being the wrong side, so this is the side that I sewed, how even that looks and how invisible that is on the other side. It's very even, it's not bunching up at all. It really truly is an invisible seam, which is what we were looking for. So this is the wrong side, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate that over on the same side. So basically what I have is the other side of the triangle and the other side of the side panel. And I'm going to fold those two together and just evenly space stitch markers starting at the bottom here. Placing a stitch marker at the very bottom. Another stitch marker at the top, so go up to the top of that triangle, place a stitch marker there, and then just evenly space a couple more of the, a couple more of the stitch markers along that side. And we will go ahead and start sewing that seam together, starting at the bottom. Making sure that those bottom edges are lining up together. We want those to be even when we're completed. Alright, so we have completed sewing the sides together to the front panels. So our poncho is all together, and what we're going to do now is we're going to remember when we did our sewing, we did it from the wrong side. So this is the wrong side facing out. So we are going to turn that inside out there. And now this is our right side facing towards me. So facing out of the poncho, this is our right side. And this is where we're going to want to work the top portion of our kind of like a yoke, or a little bit more like a yoke than anything else. It's going to sit kind of high on the shoulders, off the arms a little bit, off the shoulders a little bit. And we're just cleaning up that top edge. So really we're almost doing the same type of thing that we did with our joins here. Just a couple of rounds of single crochet, however many you would like. I'm going to do 2 rows, I think, of single crochet around the top. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just insert our hook and start doing a single crochet evenly around the entire top part of the poncho. And we're really just cleaning these edges up so it looks a little more polished, a little more finished than just leaving it on its own. And just try and make it as even as you possibly can, not bunching up your fabric at all. So just continue that all the way around your poncho. And let's take a look at that. So you see how much more finished that looks than this section does over here. It's just polishing that edge up, giving it a more finished appearance. And just continue that all the way around. When you get to the other side, just do a slip stitch join to the first stitch of this round, and then chain 1, and you'll do another round of those single crochets for a second row. And we'll come back after we get to that point. Alright, so we've completed the top portion of the poncho. This is the neck part, and I've got the front side of the poncho facing. I've gone ahead and done a very simple tab or strap, and it's simply going to help hold the poncho up on your shoulders. And it's just a single crochet. Basically it's a chain 3 single crochet, 2 across, 20 rows, and then evenly crocheting, single crocheting around the outside of it. And that tab or strap is going to get sewn onto the front of your poncho. I only did the front side. You could certainly do one on the back as well, but I liked mine to just have the front tab, and it's going to just help hold that poncho in place up on the top. So once you have your tab crocheted and completed, you're just going to attach it where you would like it with your stitch markers. And so with the front of your poncho facing, what I'm going to do is I liked mine about here. It's just going to leave a little bit of space in between on the neck. Make sure that it's even on both sides where you're placing it. And so what I'm doing is I'm counting up the amount of wave repeats. So I've got 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and that's approximately where I want to place the one side of the tab. So I'm going to place a stitch marker there just to give me a guide. And then I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. 1, 2, and 3. So now they're going to be even on both sides of the poncho. So with your tapestry needle, what you're going to do is you're going to turn it to the back side of that, the wrong side so you can sew the tab into place. And leave a long enough tail on both ends so that you can just use that tab to crochet to fasten it to the piece. And so remember, keep track of where you're at. This is 1, 2, 3, so this is where I'm going to want to attach that tab to. And I'm going to want the tab straight across. So you're going to bring it in just a little bit and then attach it on the back side here. Make sure and pick up some of the back side of that poncho, but you don't want your needle coming through to where you can see where you've sewn it. I'm going to leave mine like this until I have sewn the other side as well, and then I will, when I go to weave in that end, I'll tack that in a little bit better. So just do the same thing on the other side. And remember, 1, 2, and 3. Bring it in a little bit. My needle's just a little bit tight with this yarn. I should have a little bit of a smaller tapestry needle. Make it a little bit easier for me. And again, making sure you're not coming through on the other side, so that will show. Okay, so let's take a look and see what that looks like on the front. So that looks pretty even. So now I'm going to go ahead and weave in those ends and tack those in very nicely together. You can't see where that seam is. That's not showing through, but this is tacked into place nicely. So go ahead and do that. All right, so there you have it, the completed Whimsical Waves poncho. You can find the free pattern on my website at www.nanascraftyhome.com. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like to get notified whenever I release a new video to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and Instagram. If you ever have any questions about any of my patterns, please feel free to reach out and I will be happy to help you. Again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy this pattern and I will see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.